In June 2022, American workers made an average of $27.45 per hour. In 1972, the same workers earned an average of $3.88 per hour. A chart like this might make it seem like America has come a long way in terms of wage growth, but when adjusted for inflation, wages have remained virtually unchanged over the last 50 years, with workers today earning just 12 cents more than they did in 1972.
When the average American is not seeing his or her living standards increase over a period of decades, that's something that should concern us all.
You know, the interesting thing about it is that a lot of people truly don't understand until recently when they start tapping in with Anton and the Millionaire Morning Show. A lot of people truly never understood exactly how money worked. They never understood inflation. They never understood exactly what a recession is. They never understood the importance of economic policy over running in the Victim Olympics and talking black everything. And they never truly even understood how Democrats were impacting how they moved from a financial perspective, because out of sight, out of mind, right? And when you see wages, let's just say, for example, right, as they indicated, over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we're actually making probably less when we adjust for inflation what we were making in yesteryear. Let's continue because we got a lot to get through today.
With inflation at its highest since 1981, Americans are feeling the pain of slow wage growth. 2/3 of American workers said that inflation has outpaced any salary gains made in the past year.
Now, because of the inflation, I can't even make the monthly payments. So I had to pick extra hours with my elderly care job.
But some
think about it, y'all. And yesteryear, and make sure you guys subscribe to the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. We go a lot deeper into this money talk. I'm showing people how to build businesses. We're doing some phenomenal things in the Patreon and aligned with a group of people by joining in on the Discord that's enabled by going through the Patreon with people that's moving in the direction that you're going in, right? When we start to pay attention to how society is playing out today, right? What we then see is people are now having to have multiple people in the household bring in income in order for you to survive. Men and women are no longer looking for a husband and a wife. They're looking for a partner, somebody to share in the economic pain that has been happening for an extended period of time. Now I've been pushing people to get more than one job during the same time that they're working another job, depending on what it is that they do for a living, because in order for you to truly put yourself in a position to get ahead, because this is just like that movie Time with Justin Timberlake. This is just like it. You're running in a rat race and you truly don't understand that despite how much you make, and we put these mythical figures and say 6 figures, $100,000 a year, so on and so forth, that $100,000 is not the same as it was 20 years ago. In the same way that we just looked at the graph in the very beginning of this live stream of him indicating, listen, in yesteryear, this is how much they made. This is how much they make now. But when you adjust for inflation and you understand exactly how much goods and services cost, rent, cars, food, gas, so on and so forth, you're actually not making more than you used to make, because the value of your dollar continues to go down as the cost of doing business goes up. So $1 million ain't $1 million anymore. It's not. $1 million is not $1 million.
Economists argue that the concept is merely a myth that politicians use to promote their careers.
Correct.
Politicians win elections by promising to fix something that is supposedly wrong in people's lives. And so I think there is a bit of a political cynicism and calculus involved in the wage stagnation debate and promises to fix the supposed problem.
So just how real is wage stagnation in America today? And what does it mean for American workers?
So y'all sit up there and y'all fight for $15 an hour, which I warned you. I literally warned you. I said, listen, you're fighting for $15 an hour, but you truly don't even understand how money works, because when you adjust for inflation and then we automate the jobs and we eliminate more of you, because business owners and people that control money understand how money works, and we understand, okay, I'm willing to invest more in this thing because in a general sense, we're going to be losing money because you're never going to be satisfied. So it's much easier for us to solve for it and then pay this guy much more money to do 3 jobs. You're the ones that's going to suffer. And so now when we see people jumping on these panels and they're saying, hey, wage growth is stagnated, I don't feel like I'm getting ahead even though I'm making more money than I ever made in my life. This is the reason why. But let's continue. And it's amazing. I can't believe that you guys truly don't understand exactly how money works.
Wages in America have stagnated since the early 1970s. But it was 1979 when the gap between workers' productivity and wage began to substantially increase. Between 1979 and 2020, workers' wages grew by 17.5%, while productivity grew over 3 times as fast at 61.8%.
So essentially what happened is you had to do more and earn less. You had to do more, so the productivity of what it is that you're putting out or worker productivity increased. But even though you were getting raises, it didn't meet the rate of productivity, which means you're doing more with less and being able to generate more revenue to ensure that us at the top are going to continue to win.
It's not true that wages haven't grown at all. They have, but they haven't grown as quickly as they have.
It's called a white lie.
Since the 80s, the economy's changed a lot. We've gone really from an industrial era to a tech era. When you have these big changes to the economy, sometimes the gains are not equally felt.
But here's the key. Technology has allowed us to be a lot more productive, right? You can do more on an assembly line than you could ever before, even though you needed more workers in order to assemble that car. I can sit here and live stream with you guys and run an entire show on productivity based off of me investing in different cameras and lighting and this and that and the computer, whereas you probably needed an entire production team to do some of the similar things that I'm doing right now. And we got a big jump that we're about to make. We invest in a significant amount of money in the production of this, and we streaming in HD. Probably should be streaming in 4K. Let's continue. The productivity increased, but it's a white lie. So when they sell you, when they say, hey, wages have been greater than they ever have been before, based off of what? And are we taking a full context into consideration when we're making an evaluation as to how wages are truly increasing? Because they're not.
Really has an impact on everyone's lifestyle and everyone's wages.
See him Zoom calling?
Wage stagnation is worse for lower and middle income earners.
Oh, wait. Let's stop here. Let's stop here. Wage stagnation, look, is lower for middle and low income earners. Our wages become much greater as we ascend and become much more profitable and successful, and we understand how money works. I'm going to win 10 times out of 10. 10 times. This is, look, top 1%. You make a lot more money, but you don't necessarily have to do as much physically, which means we then get paid for what we know, and why it's more important for you to educate yourself and align yourself with people that actually can add value into your life. 95th percent or the 90th percentile, 95th percentile, bottom 90%, you're looking at the chart right there. You're playing it out just like that.
American workers saw their annual wages increase by 28.2% from 1979 to 2020, while wages for the top 1% increased by 179.3%. Meanwhile, the top 0.1% saw an astonishing growth of 389.1%.
Real wages, which means that after we adjust them for inflation, has not risen that much since the late 1970s. We know that, on the other hand, inequality did rise over most of this period.
I've been working about since the 90s when I came here. That's about 30 years on and off. And there was very little rise for domestic workers in general.
So the question then becomes, are you going to complain about it or are you going to make adjustments? And I'm not even talking to her. I'm talking to you guys. Are you going to complain about it or are you going to make adjustments? Because nobody is coming to save you. And the thing that people are realizing, especially modern women specifically, is that equality is not so fun. It's not so fun trying to compete with other people just to be able to survive. It's not fun. It's not the thing that you want to lean into. It's not the thing that you want to embrace. It's not fun being dependent on and being interdependent on somebody bringing in resources in order for you to survive in your household. It's not. It's not the move, Free Jason. It's not the move. But we here now. So now what you going to do?
Now, after the 2020 with the inflation, I feel like the income stayed the same. People lost some of the jobs, like in my experience. And we have to struggle to find different or secondary job or second part-time job just to maintain the monthly expenses of
That is
our
true.
daily living. It's
She is
very
100%
hard.
correct.
Despite causing severe disruption to the US labor market, the COVID pandemic has led to surprising wage gains across industries.
COVID has actually seen a significant acceleration in wage growth, particularly for low wage earners. This reflects a really serious tightness in the labor market due to excessive U.S. demand, whether it's for the Federal Reserve or through fiscal stimulus payments, but
Printing
also
more money,
restrictions
baby.
on labor supply.
But what they're basically telling you, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up right now, okay? What's being basically communicated to you guys is even though the pandemic itself generated more or a higher demand for a specific type of workers because there was a shortage and people had to stay home, I believe that a lot of people passed away, A. A lot of people decided that they didn't want to go back into the labor force, B. You had a lot of trickle-down effect that was taken away because when people moved away from large cities, what it did was it removed everybody's ability to be able to feed into the economy successful. So, for example, when you go to work and then you go to lunch, then you feed into that small business, which can then pay their workers, so on and so forth. We're finding ourselves in a space where we're being disrupted and people don't know how to make the adjustment quick enough for it to actually be manifesting in their lives in a good financial way. And so a lot of us are going to make way more money. And if we're very, very successful when we adjust for it and we don't run in the victim Olympics, we're going to be able to be benefiting from it. And then there's a lot of other people that are going to suffer as a result of it. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you, it's better to be on this side. Make sure you join the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Doing some phenomenal things in there. Just flew back from New York from doing a Patreon meetup a couple days ago. But then in addition to that, we doing to build a business. I'm showing y'all how to look at things from a business perspective. I'm showing you how to do things even on a basic, simple level of how to ace an interview every single time. Best videos ever. Across all spectrums is phenomenal. If you need to kick it with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com and I got you. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to assume that you're making the adjustment accordingly and you joining the Patreon. I am.